Good day, everyone! So, now that the term's ending, it's time to reflect on our learnings. And I think a video podcast like this is a really great way to culminate our experience, especially with a course like GEMAT. Don't you guys think?
Yes, this term was really a roller coaster ride, and I think it deserves a sweet ending with a compilation of all our realizations throughout this course.
Alright, so without further ado, let's begin. To give order to our reflection, here's a list of questions for us guys so we can really maximize and reflect on this course. So we have, first, which three modules during the course did you resonate the most with, and how can you apply the concepts you have learned in this course to your field? Second, what particular concept struck your attention most in these modules? Third, what are your views on learning the concepts discussed in this course? Are there any topics or concepts that are too easy or too difficult to understand? Fourth, is there a particular concept or knowledge that you suddenly became more curious about that you now have become interested in learning on your own? What is it and why have you become interested in it? And last but not the least, name 3 words that describe your experience in this course. So, now that that's settled, let's head on to our first reflectee of the day, Liv! So Liv, let's focus on the first 2 questions. Which 3 modules during the course did you resonate the most with, and how can you apply these concepts you have learned in this course to your field? And next is, what particular concept struck your attention most in these modules? Explain why.
Thank you, Charm. For me, the 3 modules that really captured my interest were the discussions on mathematics in nature and art, decision sciences, and as a language. Math has always interested me even as a child, and my appreciation for math really increased during this course as I learned more about concepts that I can apply to real life. In particular, the concept of how mathematics in nature and arts really interested me, as even before, I was always fascinated by tessellations and pattern-based questions that I would have to answer during extracurricular math training sessions. I found them to be some sort of unique form of logic, and realizing that this can be applied to art and technology to be able to solve problems rather than just to be a head scratcher for me was so interesting. Moreover, as an indecisive person, I found that learning about mathematics and decision sciences helped me approach life decisions more logically and rationally, as I can weigh the pros and cons of each situation better. As a chronically future-oriented person, being able to assess my outcome through the use of math will help me make wiser choices, especially for big life decisions. Finally, the use of math in language really fascinated me as someone who enjoys literature and English language. Before committing to my current course, I was seriously considering going into law school as I found it interesting to tackle the conclusion and argument. In high school, I remember using a truth table to win a class debate on literature that we read in English class. So understanding how mathematics can be used to determine truth, lies, benefits, and loss is something that can not only be applied to various academic fields but also in my daily life to assess logical and rational decisions. Now, as for my favorite concepts for each module, for nature and art, one of the favorite concepts that I learned was about how fractals are used to transmit different kinds of signals on a phone, from Bluetooth to Wi-Fi. This really made me appreciate the power of a simple pattern and how it can even be used in technology to improve our lives. As for decision sciences, it really struck me overall how you could have the same number of votes or ranks and yet still come out with a different winner every time, depending on the type of voting system that you use. The quote that ended the module was about how democracy is actually incompatible with fairness, and that really made me think about my concept of fairness and equality, as all the voting systems seemed fair and yet still resulted in different winners. Finally, for math as a language, I had to rethink the entire concept of propositional connectives. Initially, I remember having to learn similar concepts in high school and disliking it as I found it to be so confusing with all of the symbols. However, the way that this lesson was taught this time made it really easy to understand, and I found it fun to understand the different connections and relationships between the premises you can make to come up with a rational decision.
That's great, Liv! Well, as for me, the 3 modules that really captured me during GEMAT were modules in communication, finance, and efficiency. I chose to focus on these modules because they're really applicable to real-life situations where I'm usually in, especially now that I'm in the adulting phase of my life and being a college student too, actually. For the module in communication, I think I can apply this concept, particularly the concept and lesson on RSA for ensuring my data privacy. In a world where fake news is very rampant and we all communicate online most of the time, it's good to know that there's a method or algorithm that can be followed to secure one's privacy. As someone who uses Messenger and online apps a lot, knowing that these exist makes me assured that it is safe to communicate with people through these platforms. Being an aspiring doctor, I think knowing cryptography can also help me, especially when there are particular situations that require confidentiality between me and another party or patient. As for the module on finance, I think I can use the concepts on investing, borrowing, and stock now that I'm currently on my road towards adulting. I've been saving up a lot lately, but I learned that saving money in the bank doesn't do that much good compared to investing. Although there's a risk, what I like about GEMAT is that it helps us understand the concept of money and how to do it wisely. I really love that component of the course because it promotes financial literacy at a very young age. And since I'm going to healthcare disciplines pretty soon, it would be helpful for me to save up some money for books, equipment, and material during med school, so that by the time I'm not so stressed about student loans or anything of the same sort. Lastly, I really like the module in efficiency too. I love how effective and efficient one can be by using math plus the amount of time and effort that I can really save while delegating tasks efficiently. It's very helpful now in college that we have these group works that we really need to assign each person. And so by using the lessons taught to us during GEMAT in efficiency, we get to accomplish and delegate our tasks better according to the capability of our own group members. As for my favorite concepts per module, I would say for communications, RSA cryptography was very awesome. I did not expect that we would be taught how to do such things, and it was also very fun to decode and encode because it made me feel like I'm a detective of some sort. For finance, I really like the investing lesson. It opened my mind to how keeping my money in the bank is not really a way to let it grow. So it helped me gain some perspectives about potential ways of investing, which is very helpful for me as a growing adult. And by this, I can reach financial security at a more specified time. And lastly, for modules in efficiency, I would say that I really like the assignment problem and linear programming. It's very helpful for delegating tasks, plus doing this can aid me in potential business or day-to-day dilemmas where I have to maximize or minimize the cost. Alright, so going forward, now let's ask Gia and Ramona about the next two questions. The next two questions are, what are your views on learning the concepts discussed in this course? Are there any topics or concepts that are too easy or too difficult to understand? And then the next question for that is there a particular concept or knowledge that you suddenly became more curious about now that you have become interested to learn on your own? And what is it and why have you become interested in it? Let's go first with Gia.
Thank you, Charm. For the first question, I found that there's a good balance of easy and difficult topics during the course. One particular topic that was challenging to me, though, is the module on finance. Given the various uses of money, learning about the types of investments and savings you can use to expand your funds was quite overwhelming. However, answering the practice questions provided during lectures and from the book allowed me to have a better grasp of these concepts so that I may effectively apply them towards using my money wisely in real life. Another module that I had initially considered from FLIX was the module on decision sciences. Prior to this course, I had not imagined that mathematics can be used as an instrument to determine the most optimal solution during a dilemma or a strategic move during a game. Using various methods seemed to result in different choices, which at first was confusing. But I have come to appreciate that we can still make meaning out of our social choices to solve problems we best see fit. On the other hand, one of the easier modules that I engaged with was the module on communication technologies, as the activities on error correction and detection, as well as encryption, were built upon the existing knowledge that I had on computer sciences during high school. I also actively enjoyed the success or process of decoding and encoding messages. And our discussion on communication highlighted how these features provide us a sense of security in a technology-driven world. With regards to the second question, I honestly thoroughly enjoyed how the course introduced me to such different fields. However, out of all the modules that we discussed, I have been most curious about studying finance on my own this term. Realizing how ubiquitous money is in our world has prompted me to look after not only my mental and physical well-being, but also my financial security as well in the future. Thus, I plan on spending some of my time in the future assessing which banks would provide better returns or which stocks I should buy or sell in the future based on what I had learned in GEMAT.
Thank you so much, Gia. Now let's hear from Ramona.
Thank you, Charm. So for the first question, during this term in learning the concepts discussed in this course, it just became an eye-opener for me on how I view things on a daily basis now. It just made me realize how much more mathematics really is involved in everything you see. Before, when I was in high school, when my math teachers used to tell me that math is in everything, you could see it in everything, I didn't really believe it. But once I took this class, it dawned on me that it really is, and there weren't exactly any topics that were too easy or too hard for me to understand. If anything, I only got overwhelmed with some of the information on certain topics, but other than that, everything was fine. And as for the second question, the particular concept that caught my attention and I became more curious about is efficiency in math. For someone like me who wants to own my own business in the future, it can help me in optimizing techniques to find out the most efficient way of utilizing resources, like figuring out what's the best way of distributing the company's products. And I can also help monitor and improve the quality or process of control methods and use analysis techniques to figure out any inefficiencies in the operations and find solutions for them. And lastly, math can help me get insights from data by using data analytics so that I can make better decisions for the company and where we excel and where we need improvement.
All right, so those are very insightful answers. Thank you. For our last part, we have our very last question, and that is, name 3 words that describe your experience in this course. I guess for me, it would be informative, fun, and applicable. How about you guys?
Well, for me, Charm, I think I would describe my experience as thought-provoking, interesting, and unique.
For me, I would describe my experience in this course as insightful, eye-opening, as well as entertaining.
From the top of my head, the 3 words I would use to describe this course would be educational, engaging, and edifying.
All right, so now that wraps up our video podcast reflection for GEMATMW. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for your insights, guys. Bye.
Thank you.